And welcome to the Unhinged History Podcast, the podcast where two compulsive nut jobs are going to mainline history and then once a week join forces and tell each other the history stories we've only recently learned. I'm host number one. I'm Theresa. And that,
I'm Angie.
ha ha
I
ha.
said that like I was so sure of myself.
You've got one,
Like it's been my name my whole life.
right. Like, I hope you figured out who you are, woman.
Hey, listen, we live in a time where I could change my name when I see fit. What if I was thinking about trying on something else?
What would you change it to?
Nothing.
I think you need something to put in the form. You can't just leave it blank.
Okay, probably Riley. I like Riley.
Okay.
But
All
I've
right.
been Angie for so long that here I am.
Yeah.
Riley's what I give to people when you know when you get those text messages that are like, "Hey, saw you at yoga last week." I was like, "Girl, I was not at yoga last week."
Yeah, that was not me.
I always tell him my name's Riley and that I live in some place like Ganymede and let him wonder how far that is from New York City.
I didn't even, I would not even know how to spell that.
Not even on this planet, so it's cool.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, last week you got to tell me that cool story, the Manchurian Princess Spy. And
Hmm.
so I get to steal your ear holes and tell you about something you may know. And if you do, you don't know the whole story
I'm really uncomfortable with you trying to steal my ear holes. I
for my next
didn't you know
trick.
that.
For my next trick. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the story of the 442nd.
That's all. The 442nd.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume, is this a squadron?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say right now that the numbers sound familiar, but I think it's only because it's 42. So
Yeah,
let's just
that's
run
the
with
answer to
it.
everything. Um,
Right.
okay, so my sources, king5.com, veterans upset after Army temporarily takes decorated military unit off its website. Key military unit, the 442nd Regimental Command, or nope, Regimental Combat Team. Two books, American Sutra by Duncan Ryukin Williams, Facing the Mountain by Daniel James Brown, and podcast The Stuff You Missed in History Cast. They did an episode Nisei in World War II, the MIS, the 100th, and the 442nd.
Okay. I'm
Okay.
excited.
So remember how a couple weeks ago I told you the story of that Japanese spy in the Philippines for the Americans?
Hmm. Yes.
We're just in that spy space. Do you realize that?
Okay, so I was thinking about that the other day. I was actually telling my husband that I think I've had this conversation with you before where you and I could translate anything that someone says to us into how it relates to World War II specifically.
Yes. It's a gift.
And it really is. I think when you find your niche, ours is spies.
Spies in World War II.
Yeah, specifically spies and World War II because
Yeah.
we talk about a lot of pilots too. And here's the thing, I'm 100% cool with it.
Yeah. Like, know what gets you excited and lean
Hmm.
in.
Yeah, all the way.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Okay. So journey with me. It's February 1943.
Okay.
The Japanese on the mainland of the US, they've been rounded up and put into concentration camps.
Mm. Love this for us.
The Hawaiian-born Japanese, they're not subject to the concentration camps. They make up 40% of the population of Hawaii. So it's just not feasible
Feasible?
to remove 40% of any population.
I feel like if you gave World War II enough time, they could have figured it out.
Yeah, I don't like that idea, but you're right. Now the problem with the Japanese not the Hawaiian-born Japanese not going to concentration camps, this comes up later, so put a pin in that.
Okay.
Um, now, um, there is a term, I think I brought it up last or when we were talking about uh, Richard Sakakita. I think that was his name. I forgot his
That
name, but
sounds familiar.
the spy from the Philippines. Um, the term is Nisei, and that is like that first generation born abroad.
Right,
So
yeah.
in this case, the Nisei men that were age 17 and older, they're asked to fill out this form. It's selective service form. it is made just completely for Japanese people.
Of
So
course it
get
is.
get prepared for things to be wrong with this.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Shocked. I
yeah,
am
just
shocked.
be prepared, okay? Anybody volunteer, at first it's anybody volunteering in the army, they are proposed to, well, everybody fills out the form. Everybody fills out the form. Um,
Okay.
but if you're going to volunteer for the army within these camps, you have several people that are looking through the backgrounds of these individuals to see, are they up to snuff? Is this going to be a problem? Okay.
Okay.
The concept of seeing if somebody is going to be up to snuff doesn't seem too bad on its face, but there's problems. Um, because you've got systemic racism. That's just at the heart, and I'm not going to be able to dance around this. There's a military joint board that would rule on every person's candidacy after review by military intelligence and the FBI.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this initiative gets seized on by the War Relocation Authority or the WRA because neither is nice to say out loud. It's great to see written, but to try to speak it out loud like a human, impossible. And I'm grateful I did it on my first try. I hope I don't do it
Good for
again.
you.
Um, they have this leave and clearance, which is a program where they're trying to basically see, like, if you fill out the form, are you going to be loyal to the United States or are you going to be a potential problem? They've
I
got a,
feel like if you filled out the form, your plan was to be loyal.
you would say that, but everybody had to fill out the form.
No, I guess that's true. Okay. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, I mean, it's compulsory if you're in that. They have two questions that are the most contentious. Question 27 and question 28. And these two, when you look at nearly every single source, mention question 27 and question 28. These are notorious questions. These questions have been written in history books, kind of issues.
Okay.
The first one, 27, says, for male Nisei, are you willing to serve the armed forces in the United States on combat duty whenever ordered?
Okay.
Okay, doesn't seem too bad on its face. Like, I understand what you're trying to get there. 28 asks, will you swear unqualified allegiance to the United States of America and faithfully defend the United States from any and all attack from foreign or domestic forces, and forswear any form of allegiance or obedience to the Japanese emperor or any other foreign government or power or organization?
These are the people that were born in the US, right?
Yes.
Wow.
So
Okay. This
okay,
this is problematic.
now here it's more problematic than you think. Here's why it's worse because their parents, the Issei, the ones, the expats who left the country to come to America, they when they expatriated to the US, they had not been allowed to naturalize to the United States due to citizenship restrictions. They couldn't become citizens if they wanted to. They had to remain Japanese citizens. So you have to
S-
not be a Japanese citizen and you have to forswear loyalty to the country that is on the passport that you have to maintain.
So sorry, the logistics of this. Are
Yeah.
you implying that oh hey, one of our comments said my is people are talking to us about this.
Oh, okay. So one dad raging against the machine, he and I have been chatting in DMs about the 442nd.
Oh, okay. Well, they have comments. That's pretty cool.
I'm stoked for this and didn't get citizenship until the 1950s. Okay, so this is incredibly problematic.
Yeah, okay. So then here's my logistics question. If you are Issei is the expat, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you cannot become a naturalized citizen in the US because of reasons.
Yeah.
Are you required to then go back to your quote unquote home country for a certain amount of time to redo your visa and all of that?
I don't see anything like that, but I'm not going into the full-blown shenanigans of what was immigration in the 1940s.
I'm going to assume that that's got to be like a newer thing. Like it would,
I don't
I'm
know. I don't
I am
know.
so curious. I'm gonna have to Google it when we're done. I'm so
Okay.
curious. That Google might not even have that answer. Like it's such a niche, weird question that I have. I'm just curious.
You're going to end up on some weird Reddit forum with some historic immigration lawyer.
It'll be awesome.
I'm here for it.
I'll
Honestly,
let you know
report
next
back.
week.
Um, so they have this issue, right? And so the Issei who are like, look, I couldn't be a citizen if I tried, and now you're going to ask if I'm going to forswear my allegiance to the country that actually doesn't mind if I'm a citizen? Like, what?
Pardon?
Yeah, so America's like, all right, hold up. Let me rewrite question 28. We're gonna give it right back. Hold on. Maintain. And they come up with another one. They're still pretty upset and they're insulted by the questionnaire.
Fair. I'm
And
insulted by the questionnaire and I
yeah,
wasn't even alive.
so when you have this kind of issue, you have people who say no, whether on accident, they're confused, or they're just like, kick rocks.
Listen,
Fuck
I've clicked the
off.
wrong box so many times. I would not be surprised if I did it on accident.
There are World War I veterans who do not have citizenship at this time that are being asked if they will be loyal to the country putting them in these internment camps.
I think we proved it about 20 years ago. You know?
Yeah. So in the book American Sutra, there's a rumor that circles that says if you answer no to these two questions, that you're going to be sent to a segregation camp for disloyals and that this is going to split up families.
Oh, that sounds familiar. Weird.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I hate this isn't a repeat of old news. Um, The rumor proves to be true when Tule Lake that is open in California. And so if you
I'm
answered
sorry, did you say Tule Lake? Is that what you said?
Tule, I didn't look up where that is. I should
No,
have.
I think that's what you said. I thought I
Yeah.
heard you wrong. So
Yeah,
I
it
was just
wasn't
trying to make sure I
Tulare.
understood the. Okay.
Yeah, because
I was
Tulare
making sure I
Lake
heard you right.
only comes back when the farmers don't get their will and the water overpopulates and overruns them.
Right.
Wahahaha.
Mwahaha.
Yeah, but that's in California. Now, if you answer no to these two questions, they
Oh,
refer to
wow.
you as a no-no. So the
Hmm.
no-nos get shipped to Tule Lake.
Did you see that one dad raging against machine says that that's where their family started at?
Oh, wow. Okay. I little did I realize I was going to just, sing his entire song, allow me to be Lauryn Hill, just strumming my pain with his fingers.
If you're Lauren Hill, that makes me Wyclef Jean. I'm here for it.
We both have a lot more talent and rhythm than we did seconds ago.
Like just mere seconds ago.
Right. So the WRA, they are trying to sort through all of these Japanese people to really figure out where they fall into. And they have a problem because they're reviewing around 40,000 files. And this is huge undertaking because they're doing it all by hand. There's no AI help. And so they hire a statistician from the Census Bureau to oversees this analysis, this huge data set. And this man, Calvert Derrick, he comes up with this formula to discern loyalty, and it's a plus or minus system. So depending on how you question, you get the question, pluses for here, negatives for that. I don't know if I were tasked with this, if I could do it any better, other than to say kick rocks. They're citizens to start with.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
feel like our generation has really different opinions than
right, but he tried to make the best. He tried to polish a turd, and he came up with a solution. And his solution was um, really trying to figure out what's going to make somebody disloyal. So if they are Christian, they are considered more trustworthy. So that is a +2. But if they're Buddhist, well, Buddhists are more trustworthy, according to Derek here, than the Shintoists. So on question 16, if you answer that you're Shinto, well, that's automatic rejection. But if you're Buddhist, it only reduces your score by 1 point. 2 points if you're
how
Christian.
how do we determine our loyalty based on what God we follow?
There's a spreadsheet.
It's
And now, mind you, I love spreadsheets, but I will say that not the logic in all spreadsheets is equal. right? Derek's
Not all
spreadsheet,
logic is equal.
Derek's spreadsheet needs to get reworked.
It needs to be workshopped.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the empirical data that just goes, oh, Shinto,
Ooh,
paper
sus
torn in
right
half.
there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna
Yep.
have to go see the door. We're
Bye.
gonna round file your paperwork. Thanks for trying.
Ooh, the harsh round file. All
Good luck on your
right.
future endeavors.
It was nice to meet you today.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Um, now, America has a small problem. They've got more than one, but for this one,
I was gonna say, okay, and?
yeah, they need more bodies for this war.
Oh, shucks. I
And
forgot. There's a war.
they have a bunch of these able-bodied men that are just sitting around in camps.
I
And
hate this for them.
and so, gosh, they
I am so sorry, but if you would have left them alone, they would have been being productive members of society, like working at their jobs and caring for their families and things. And they probably willingly would have signed up for the war effort,
as opposed
like
to
most
not
people
being
at the
allowed
time.
to draft. Like, I mean, just like, but do you remember
Oh,
how
I'm so
with
mad for
the Night
them.
Witches, how the Russian government only allowed women to be pilots because they had kind of killed all of the
All the
men
men.
and
Yes,
needed
kind of
bodies
a
to fill the
problem.
planes? So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is kind of what happened here. They needed
I hate
bodies.
this.
And
Okay.
so the military goes, well, what if we created a segregated unit of Japanese troops?
Okay.
Now, families are concerned that if their sons join the segregated unit, they're going to be judged as expendable troops.
I mean, that would be a concern I would have. That seems reasonable, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they're being othered every day on a Tuesday. So why not in Europe
Yeah,
on a battlefield?
legit, yeah.
Now, in the book Facing the Mountain, one volunteer notes that his father fought for the US in World War I, never granted citizenship, and was concerned that his son is going to face the same treatment.
Also a fair concern.
And I love that Daddy Dearest is speaking up and saying, hey, you should have the full picture.
Like, here's the whole thing, because you're gonna want this information.
Now, there's around 4,000 men between Hawaii and mainland US that, come up and join this. So April 43, they end up getting repl okay, so this note is kind of weird. So we have 4,000 men who join initially, but the total number of Japanese men is around 14,000 men who serve because they get replaced.
Okay.
Okay.
So there
Now,
we have the original number, and
yeah,
then they just. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. Now, the motto of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team was "Go for broke."
I kind of love that.
I love it too. For them, it's a gambling term that means risking everything on one big effort to get that big win.
Okay.
And from what I understand, this seems to have come from the Hawaiian contingent that they kind
Yeah,
of
I
offer
love it.
this.
I love that you refer to them as the Hawaiian contingent.
I mean, so they, okay, so I didn't put this in my notes. When they come together, the ones from the Hawaiian group, I think were the pig heads.
Okay.
And no, the Buddha heads. It was the Buddha heads. And then the ones from the mainland were the Katunks.
Okay.
Okay, now they didn't get along. They didn't get along at all. The the Buddha heads, there's some discrepancy onto why they were called that. It could be related to the Hawaiian word for pig. Um,
Okay.
Now, the katunk was because, yeah, that was the sound that the mainland Nisei's heads sounded when they hit the cement. These guys fought so hard that they just said, your head sounds like a watermelon when it hits the concrete.
Katonk.
So,
I love them.
I mean, okay, they did not play well at the start. So hold that in your
Hey,
noodle noggin.
listen, most best friends don't. You know?
We got on great, but I think it was because I took the meme shortcut.
We
Um,
went straight to the jugular, and it
oh,
was either like you or
you know
not,
what?
you
Yeah,
know?
It was, we'll burn that bridge when we get there. Um,
We lit the match.
we ride at dawn. Um,
That's right.
okay, so the Hawaiian-born Nisei, they make about two-thirds of the initial regiment, right? The remaining one-third are from the mainland. Now, they arrive for training at Camp Shelby in Mississippi, and they start fighting because they don't get along. The Hawaiians speak this pidgin English,
Okay,
and
yeah.
the mainlanders, they're speaking, Japanese and or English. Okay, so they are having some rough goes. Um, there's in the Stuff You Missed in History podcast, they share how the groups fought and how they fought bitterly until some of the Hawaiian Nisei visited a concentration camp and saw how the families of their fellow soldiers were living, and then everything shifts. They come back to the barracks and they start telling all of the other Hawaiians, this is how our fellow people are living. This is how they're being treated. This is why we think of the mainlanders as so uptight. This is why
Yeah,
we think
okay.
they're paranoid and why they care about what everyone thinks about them, because this is how they're living.
Okay, yeah, that's a reasonable yeah.
And so,
Yeah, makes sense.
yeah, overnight, these two groups just join and merge and they become a completely different unit,
I love that.
which is beautiful. Um, now we have we have the volunteers that came from Hawaii. We also have the ones that came from the 10 relocation centers on the mainland. But most of the company grade officers are Caucasian, bunch of white bros.
Hmm. Shocked.
I know, right? I mean, but this is honestly, this is what it is. We haven't done anything new in a long, long time.
Yeah.
So they all go to Europe. They fight hard, 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 hard. And at one point, the 442nd, they should have been put on rest to recover from some previous battles because they had just gone through some intense things in Briere and Boufontaine. Don't ask me how to spell that. I only wrote how I thought I should write it so I could pronounce it later. So,
I got you.
yeah. But they get woken up at 3 a.m. and they're told basically grab your gear, get out the door. So they put on wet boots and they
Hmm.
stuff their packs and are ready to march within an hour. They're told to go up a nearby mountain in what is freezing rain and would later be snow.
In wet boots. So we all
In
end up with trench
wet
foot.
boots. Hold that thought.
Hmm.
What they don't know is on one of the higher ridges near them are 200 Texans that are pinned down by Axis powers.
Hold on. There are 200 Matthew McConaughey's
All right, all right,
pinned
all right.
down.
Now, I'm going to call them Texans throughout the duration of this, but they're like from the Texas National Guard.
Okay. Okay.
So primarily Texans made up this group.
Okay. And they're
For
pinned down.
for all intents and purposes, it's 200 Texans.
Love it.
Okay. Now, the battalion of Texans, they were trapped. They've been calling for help on the radio, and we've got a dude named General Dalquest. He's repeatedly ordered the Texans to fight their way out.
We're stuck, sir.
Yeah, so that failed. And he's like, I'm sure they're on the radio, like, we're trapped. What part of that are you failing to understand?
This feels right. Okay.
So it's General Dalquest that orders the 442nd to wake up and run that Hail Mary to save the Texans.
Okay. Love this.
The rain is so severe that Fred Shiosaki, one of the men in the 442nd, he has to grab the pack of the man in front of him because he can't see.
Okay.
So
It's that bad.
yeah, it's that bad. It's like whiteout conditions with rain. They're struggling up this mountain in the dark. They're sliding through ankle deep mud, and then the
Hmm.
fog rolls in.
Oh, because it wasn't hard enough to see.
No,
This place is cursed.
honestly. Now they have no idea why they're there. No one's told them a damn thing other than put your wet boots on and start marching.
Okay.
Now, suddenly their group comes to a complete stop And that's when they're getting screamed at to take cover.
Okay. In what?
There,
The fog?
there's a German machine gun that starts tearing through the ranks of the 442nd. The
Oh.
Nisei are having a tough time. They can't see. And the Germans have this very strong defensive position on steep banks all around them.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yes. Meanwhile, the Texans are nearly completely out of rations. They're simply trying to like bury their dead when there's pauses in fire. There's no
Oh,
more
I hate
medical
that for
supplies.
them. Okay.
It's dark. The only water they have is the rainwater that they're catching in their helmets when they're brave enough to take their helmets off.
But they've got a lot of rain, so
Yeah, they've got that going for them. Oh, and the batteries in their radio are dying.
okay. And this is the Texans. We still have batteries in the radio for the 442nd, right?
Yeah, the Nisei, they've
Okay.
got batteries. Um, every time the Texans call for an airdrop of supplies, they hear two words, not yet.
What are you waiting for?
An engraved invitation.
I was just gonna say, to quote my husband, an engraved invitation.
Yeah. Now, 3 miles away, we have our Go for Broke boys. It's now 3:30 p.m. and they're against a Panzer with German infantry behind it, right? Now, the Nisei are lobbing grenades back at them and they're firing mortars too.
Okay, get it, get
Now,
it.
our man Fred, he said he was firing at anything that moved. And he's talking about how he just
Fair.
kept firing and reaching for new clips and then slamming them back into his gun and then firing them out again. Out of the corner of his eye, in the book Facing the Mountain, he talks about how he sees Matsuichi Yogi, and Yogi was someone who had become a friend to him in training, and he sees Yogi get a bazooka up on his shoulder and start running towards the tank. He sees Yogi stop, kneel in front of it. Bullets are just smacking into the trees all around him, and he fires and he scores a direct hit on the tank.
Okay.
Like this is so movie-esque. Black smoke is pouring out of the hatch. It's ground to a dead stop. No Germans pop out of it. Yogi pivots. He sees a German bazooka man, fires his bazooka again, just obliterates the other dude, and they both just keep going.
Okay.
Like that is just one very clear scene in this whole like
Are
so
these the descendants of your samurai women? I
no,
feel
I
like this
really
is
wish.
giving.
I super wish, but I can't prove, right? What you think, what you know, you can prove. I have no idea. But there is
Yeah,
some just strong. And I realized when I
fortitude.
was writing this that I was telling it very similar to the episode The Blood-Soaked Battle Angel.
Because, well, I mean, how could you not though? Like, how
Right.
could you not?
So overnight, the temperatures drop again. The 442nd crawled forward as they come over the felled trees that the Germans used to create this massive roadblock because they created this roadblock to get the Texans trapped in the first place.
Oh, right, that makes sense. Okay.
And they've had time to reinforce and entrench themselves in this position. Oh, and there's also snipers that are taking shots at anybody who approaches.
You know,
So,
of course, there's
meanwhile,
always snipers.
back with the Texans, it's just after 9 a.m. The Texans hear an aircraft approaching. Then they hear the sounds of the German anti-aircraft firing down at the planes, or firing at the planes, not firing down. Planes are above
Fine,
the
firing
aircraft.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suddenly, they see three 6-foot auxiliary fuel tanks that are stuffed with food, water, and medical supplies, and radio batteries that are crashing through the branches of the pine forest with half-open parachutes.
Okay.
Now, the Texans are pinned down here, but they're cheering. And then they end up realizing that they maybe cheered a little too soon because most of the tanks slammed into the hard edge of the ridge, bounced off, and rolled directly into the German lines.
That seems not helpful.
And meanwhile, the Texans see the Germans scooping up biscuits, cans of meat, candy bars, fresh water, cartons of cigarettes, everything that was for them. And these furious Texans open fire on the Germans who just leave with all their loot.
After all that.
After all that.
Okay.
So there's another night of darkness and the 442nd. They're struggling. They're up to their knees in cold, muddy water. Their teeth are chattering, and then by midnight, the rain turns to sleet.
Mm.
And our man, Fred Shiosaki's feet are so swollen, his boots are tattered. And so what remains, he fears is going to split open. The last
Mm.
time he saw his feet were several days before, and they were turning purple, and he said they smelled like carrion.
Oh,
So this bro's fighting trench foot with the best of them.
yeah. God bless him.
Now, it's October 29th. The Nisei are inching closer to the trapped Texans. There's this narrow path towards the Texans with German stationed on the ridges of either side. Remember the snipers, right? They're heavily fortified.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, General Dahlquist, remember him?
Oh yeah, yeah. The not yet guy.
Yeah, he starts bellowing on the radio, demanding to know why it's taken the Nisei so long to get to the Texans.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the fact that we can't see
We're
where
just
we're
taking a
going.
walk. We're worrying about our
Yeah,
our self-care.
we're meditating.
Yeah. Now, the troops that are there, then he said, they're like, well, we just need more reinforcements. Maybe if we had a little bit more of an advantage, we could get going. But right now,
Like a sandwich.
we're a bit stuck. Well, the Texans want the sandwich. The Nisei, they might need new boots, but I mean, I
Fair.
think that they're doing okay-ish, right? Now, Dalquest refuses to give them reinforcements and demand that they push through. This is
Of
the same
course.
guy who told the Texans to fight their way out. Now,
I feel like he's never had a day on the ground.
I feel like I should also tell you that it was Dalquist that got the Texans into the issue they're in. He told the Texans to advance too swiftly into this area. He hadn't done his reconnaissance in that area. And so it's his fault the Texans are trapped in the first place.
Hate that for them.
And he wanted to cover his ass. And when they couldn't fight their way out, he said, well, wake the 442 up and make them go get them.
That makes me mad. That makes me mad for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, Dalquist is also concerned because if the Texans are killed or captured, this is going to be a huge propaganda win for the Germans.
Of course, because there's 200 Matthew McConaughey's.
Right. And also, Dalquist is also concerned because it's not only going to be just a black eye or a blot on his record, it could end his military career.
Yeah, when you lose 200 men, it's kind of a thing.
Yeah, because you fucked up multiple times.
I believe the term is snafu.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think that is the
Or
technical term.
fubar.
FUBAR, fucked up
Fubar,
beyond all
F up
recognition.
beyond, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of us.
go team. Yeah, well, I mean, snafu works too because that's situation normal all fucked up.
Checks.
So in the book Facing the Mountain, there's this harrowing scene where the author depicts that you have Dalquist and his aide de camp. They show up because they've said go and they've heard we can't, sir. And he's like, F it, we're gonna go up there. So they roll up to the battle scene and
It's so hard to find good help these days.
pretty much like and so his aide de camp is like this all-American Ivy League blonde-haired bombshell of a man.
So Johnny Rico from Starship Troopers.
Yes, exactly
Got
him.
it.
And so Dalquist and his guy like look at the commanding officer of the Nisei and basically imply that there's nothing to worry about and they're just going to walk to the top of the ridge and survey the scene in front of God and everybody and not worry about the bullets filing because apparently their audacity, their caucasity is going to keep them safe.
It always does. How do you think white ladies survive mountain lions just on their walks? It's the caucasity.
It's the caucasity. Now,
Mm-hmm.
they go up to this ridge, and the commanding officer and Dalquist are screaming at each other in full view of the Germans. Bullets are flying past them. And finally, Dalquist is like, well, bring out a map. And they lay out a map. And as they do that, his aide de camp catches a bullet in the back of the head and collapses into General Dalquist's arm. Gone. Expired.
Loved
And
Johnny Rico. Sorry.
yeah. Now, with him crossed off the census, Dalquist finally has to admit that, I don't know, maybe they're in a dangerous position. So they skedaddle back to the Jeep And that's where Dalquist decides that while he might have been wrong about where they were standing to look at the map, he's not going to apply the logic that he should have learned to the situation because he tells the commanding officer that the Nisei are now definitely going to go because that was his boy and nobody's going to treat his boy like that. And that they're going to go and they're going to show those Jerrys what for and they're going to bring those Texans home.
Because we weren't trying to do that already.
Yeah. And
Okay.
apparently the Nisei in front of him are not his boys.
Of course.
So we've just completely alienated the guys on your side with the guns directly in front of you that are trying to do what you've been asking them to.
Trying to help you. But
Yeah.
also you're having them do it in wet boots with trench foot.
Yeah.
And oh, they're tired. They're
Oh
so
yeah.
tired.
Yeah, they've been doing this for a minute. They just need a break.
They just need a
So,
Kit Kat.
yeah, I know. That more than that. More all the Tootsie Rolls.
Oh, I'm in the Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah. And if you're what episode was the Tootsie Roll? That was the Chosen
Um,
Reservoir.
it was a chosen reservoir. I'll look it up really quick.
Okay.
That was. It's gonna take me a second. Carry on. I'll just interrupt you when I find it.
Okay. So they're commanded to go forward and all of them are scared. None of them want to go. They all know that this is bad
85.
news. Episode 85? What was the name of that?
Yeah, it was with it is called it was with the Great Molasses Flood.
Yeah,
I'm not here to make sense,
that checks.
which is true.
Um, Now, in one of the books I read, it talks about how they hear their father's words echoing in their mother's or in their minds and their mother's love echoing in their hearts. And so
Mm.
one by one, they stand up and then just at once, they just stand up in mass and then they begin charging up the hill. They said that they're shooting from their hips and they're shooting blind through the tangle of trees that are rising above them because they are not in a good position.
Yeah, what are we gonna do? What else are we gonna shoot at?
So this is absolute hell that is kicking off as they're engaging with the Germans. And then we got our man Fred that I mentioned earlier, the one with the trench foot, the one that this
Hmm.
man just okay.
Yeah, yeah.
He's watching soldiers, the Nisei, fall all around him. He sees a mortar shell slam into a tree directly above him. It explodes, and then he feels something hot slice into his side. Now he knows he's been hit and he falls. He pulls up his shirt. He can see jagged shrapnel sticking out of his abdomen. He doesn't see a lot of blood. And that's when another Nisei comes over and pulls the shrapnel out, quickly bandages the wound, tell Fred he's going to be fine. And then they get up and go.
Okay. Okay. I was thinking pulling the shrapnel out might not have been our best move right there. We don't
I
have a
mean,
field
look,
hospital, but okay.
you and I have gone through basic first aid, and it's like, no, 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 that's days.
It's not bleeding. Don't touch it.
Yeah, yours is to leave it there. You're not
Yeah.
qualified. You don't have enough letters after your name to act like you care about this. Sit
Thank you.
down,
Good
shut
day.
up.
I said good day.
Yeah. So they're engaging through all of this. Now, there's smoke, dust, and it's mixing with the fog because the fog is still
Oh,
there.
I forgot about the fog.
This horrible situation turns the smoke or the fog this soup gray color, which sounds
Mm,
fabulous. Now, it's
sounds like
hard,
smog.
yeah, it's hard for them to see who's friend or who's foe, which could be a problem when you're firing weapons.
It's typically one of the first things you talk about in like your weapons training class.
Yeah.
Knowing where
Don't
you're
fire at
pointing
friends.
is
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, they're crawling over logs and dead bodies and they're hurling grenades uphill. They
Uh,
still keep going.
I'm interrupting to tell you that our friend Alessandro has just popped on.
Alessandra, we are recording an episode. Welcome.
How are you? I'm so excited.
Now,
Sorry, I just
yeah,
got so excited I had to
no,
interrupt.
I'm grateful that you did. So, at one moment, Fred sees a young German soldier who's curled up in fetal position and he seems to be calling out for his mother. Fred raises his rifle and thought, well, say goodbye to your mom. And he hesitates because this guy is the same age as Fred's little brother back home. And that's when he
Oh,
lowers his rifle and he just keeps going.
okay.
And then he reaches the top of the ridge and he realizes that the battle just stops. It just is done. There'd been all this noise and now there's nothing. There's just the moaning of wounded men. And then he sees Germans running full tilt away from them. And he realizes that the battle's done, but there's hardly anyone left.
Why are the Germans running?
They gave up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's not.
I
I'm
thought
not. I'm not throwing you down another cliff. Like this isn't like. And then the regiment of panzers came, and then the squadron of
like
planes. No, this is like the battle's done. It had been 5 days and nights of nonstop combat in freezing rain and dense fog. More men from the 442nd were lost than were saved from the Texans of the 141st.
mm,
The 442nd saw 800 casualties and 121 deaths, and they
good
saved
grief.
211 lives of the Texas National Guard. That math ain't mathin'.
Oh. You sent 800 guys in there for that?
No, no, 800 casualties.
Oh, okay.
No, no,
In
yeah,
my brain,
800
okay.
wounded, 121. So that's 921 oh no's.
This is not going to go great for Delquest one way or the other, I think.
I kind of hope not. I didn't look it up. I just assumed the worst and just said good fucking riddance.
Good day to you,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you for your service. Meh.
Bye-bye. Don't let the door kick you on the way out.
Yeah. Now, the 442nd RCT is the most decorated military unit of its size and length when you consider its service in American history,
Okay,
which
okay.
I love. Now, the scope of their war effort remained hidden from the world for more than half a century, and it was only one member of the regiment to get awarded the Medal of Honor immediately after the war, and his name was Sandal Mune More, who had thrown his body on a hand grenade in the assault of the Gothic line. Now, the medal was presented to his mother on March 13th, 1946. It took more than a half a century of sustained lobbying in Congress before President Clinton, on June 21st, 2000, finally conferred the Medal of Honor to another 20 members of the regiment, some of them posthumously, saying, quote, rarely has a nation been served so well by the people it so ill served.
Thanks, Clinton.
Yeah.
I never thought that sentence would come out of my mouth.
I mean, yeah. When the
Yeah.
442nd came home, their medals dramatically underscored the disproportionate value that the Nisei soldiers displayed during the war. We had 16 million Americans who served during World War II. Only 473 received medals of honor. 21 came from the ranks of this says 18,000 men who served in the 442nd. So the 442nd represented just over 0.1% of the US military force, but it earned 4.4% of the medals of honor.
That's right up there at the Tuskegee.
Right. Like they just kicked ass. Now, all of the medals that were earned by these incredible men didn't alleviate the trauma of the thousands of their family members who stayed home.
Well, yeah. How could it?
So they finally get released from these camps, and up and down the West Coast, thieves had looted the possessions that were left in storage. Vandals had shattered the glass of nursery greenhouses and destroyed the stocks of merchandise. They painted threats all over the property, and squatters occupied the homes, and many refused to leave.
Yeah. I've read accounts of like their neighbors that tried to protect their homes and
Yeah.
were way more often than not unsuccessful because looters, there's so many more of you than there is the one neighbor that cares, you know?
About the only thing you can do is loot it yourself to keep it safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
Which is,
feels awful.
yeah, I agree. Could you imagine having to break into your neighbor's house simply to just get their keepsakes out in hopes that the looters also leave your house alone too because you happen to be next door?
Right.
Like there's a lot of nuance that certainly gets left out of a lot of day-to-day life
Yeah,
when you're just trying to care for each other, you know?
when you're just trying to be a good human.
Yeah.
I'm not done though.
Dang, girl.
I know you're ready
Hmm
because
hmm
the veterans in Washington State are pissed. Pissed.
Fair.
Because a web page highlighting this very incredible group of humans was removed from the U.S. Army's national or website for weeks.
This
It's been
checks.
it's been restored. This page has been
That's
restored.
good.
Um, but this pain is very poignant for members of the Japanese American community. Dale Watanabe said these guys were heroes. They dedicated themselves to proving they were Americans. It's an American story.
Truly.
And he goes on to say this raised a big red flag for many of us. He's the commander of the Nisei Veterans Committee, not community, committee, the Nisei
Okay.
Veterans Committee. And
Teresa, you're making our followers cry.
am I?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is a good story. I'm grateful that we're able to share it truly.
I'm
Um,
glad I'm just not the only one this time.
it's my job. If I'm not going to kick people in the feels, then what am I going to do? It's either this
I
or literal
mean,
violence.
truly. She's picking the lesser of two evils.
Now, Watanabe said that when this page was taken down, he received a slew of emails and calls from local veterans who told him that the page was removed from the Army website. And he says this to us, this is not a DEI issue. Now, Army officials said that the page was removed and then republished on March 15th, and they sent a statement to King 5 saying, quote, "The 442nd Regimental Combat Team holds an honored place in Army history, and we are pleased to republish an article that highlights the brave soldiers who served in the Go for Broke Brigade. In accordance with Presidential Executive Order and guidance from the Secretary of Defense, the Army recently took down the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders Heritage webpage that featured content about the 442nd Infantry Regiment and Nisei soldiers. The Army is tirelessly working through the content on that site, and articles related to the 442nd Infantry Regiment and Nisei soldiers will be republished to better align with current guidance. There are many stories still available on the Army website that celebrates the bravery of the 442nd Infantry Regiment that were not impacted by the Heritage webpage. The Army remains committed to sharing the stories of our soldiers, their units, and their sacrifice." Watanabe's response to that very articulated, heavily scripted response
Mm-hmm.
says, "What's going to get taken away? What's going to get whitewashed? What's going to be deleted?" And I think we're all worse off when we don't acknowledge that America is a land of immigrants.
You said it said that they were going to try to better align with the current guidelines.
Yeah.
No, let's just go with what's right. Let's put the whole story there. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And we have Michael Yamaguchi, who served the U.S. Air Force for 27 years. He's got fears about this as well. He says, why would you want to remove this sliver of the greatest generation from that discussion? Now, he had five uncles who served in the 442nd. All of
Oh,
them
wow.
faced extensive racism and were viewed as aliens at the time.
Yeah, here we are just being amazing human beings. Once
Yeah,
again.
we're consistent. God bless us. I'll end on a
Wow.
quote from Yamaguchi, who said, "What the soldiers did in World War II counted, and that what they strove for me and the others, has endured. Those kinds of things only endure if you have the material to tell the story,"
Yeah, it's true.
which makes the removal of their stories because they don't look like a white dude all that more egregious.
Agreed.
And one dad raging against the machine says he has "Go for Broke" tattooed on his forearm.
That's awesome.
But that
I
is the
am fond
story.
of you, What Dad, Raging Against the Machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that is awesome. Thank you for sharing. Wow. I'm mad about things. I'm gonna go rage cook, I think.
Call your senators, call your representatives,
Mm-hmm.
tell them that this is not okay. Demand that they do something. We need to
Yeah.
be angry and loud for long times. We cannot burn quick and bright and burn out. We need to burn long and hot. And we need to make this stop.
Yeah. I could not agree with you more. Well said. Well said.
So, yeah, but that is the story of the 442nd.
I love it. I'm so concerned for Frank's feet.
Fred's feet.
Yeah, it's I looked up trench foot recently, you guys. I'm
It's not good.
never gonna be
It's,
okay. Never gonna be
you
okay.
don't do it. Don't do it. But on that note, I think we should go practice some self-care. That is also a form of resistance. But call your senators, fax them. You can fax them for free online, and they have to keep a record of your fax, and it's free for you, and it's a pain in the ass for them. Do it.
One individual letter on each page.
Yeah. And truly, you could just copy paste to the next representative you have.
I
Don't,
love
just
that.
duplicate your efforts.
Love it. I wish my representative was younger. We've had the same House representative for like 700 years approximately.
Be annoying.
Yeah,
Be
that's
the
really
whole
my only
problem, Angie. Be the whole problem. Be
wake
the
up,
reason they
choose
retire.
violence.
I had my
I,
chemistry teacher tell me I was the reason he was retiring. You can cause this.
my husband has said it multiple times because I used to get those phone calls that were like, so and so wants you to join their live chat. I'm like, no, you don't.
You really
Absolutely
don't.
not.
Yeah. I have things to say. You will regret the things I say. I won't.
Yeah, but you will.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
stop calling me.
Someone will die on
And
this
yeah,
hill.
it's not going to be you. It'll be me. It's my hill. I built it.
But if you are like, what fresh hell are these two women bringing? What happens when both Angie and Theresa tell the story on the same week? It's a special kind of chaos. There's a lot happening, and you should rate, review, subscribe, join us next week, and try to catch us when we end up posting this on TikTok and doing it live so that you can kind of see the chaos and see me stab myself in the hand multiple times as I do needlework. Um, and on that
And
note,
count the times I said my person's name different. That's my favorite game. I really love to change up how I pronounce things.
you're just trying to see if I'm paying attention.
I only do that with your ears. Are you paying attention with your ears?
I can't pay attention with my own ears, but on that note, goodbye.
Bye.